Hi everyone. My name is Kiana. Welcome to today's UBC Play and Learn at Home. Today we are going to be learning how to make some cheer makers. So some of you might have noticed that around 7 p.m. there's been lots of noise going around outside your house, maybe some pots and pans banging around, cheering and clapping. That's because people are outside showing their appreciation and thanking everyone who's out on the front lines, especially people like nurses and doctors who are working in our hospitals. Um, so today for our live stream, I'm gonna let you guys know that all our participants' video and audio is going to be off. But if you have any questions at any time, feel free to send a message to one through the chat function, and one of our moderators will be able to help you today. Please make sure that you're using respectful and camp-appropriate language when using the chat function. And now you guys are going to be able to go and grab all of the items that you saw on that list. So you're going to need to get some cups, a toilet paper roll, some wax paper, some paper clips, a little bit of string, elastic bands, paper to decorate with, either some tape or glue, and then a piece of paper towel. And and some scissors. And when you come back, you're going to need some parents' help because we're going to be poking a hole in our paper cup as well as our paper towel roll. So I'll give you guys 30 seconds to grab those and make sure that you get some parent help poking the holes through those because that might be kind of dangerous for us to do on our own. All right, amazing. Now that we've got all of our stuff together, I'm gonna start by poking the holes in one of my paper cups and in my paper towel roll or my plastic cup. So I'm gonna start, I'm just using a pencil. Your parents might use a pen, and they just need to stick it through and make a hole big enough to get string through. So I've got a hole like that. It's just a little hole, but it'll get the string through, and that's exactly what I need. And then do the same thing right in the middle of the paper towel roll. Perfect, just a little hole like that, and that's all you need. So you can thank your parents for their help, and then we're gonna get started. So the first craft that we're gonna make is our kazoo, which is kind of a funny little instrument that makes your noise kind of feel like it's warbled. It kind of meshes it around. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with our paper towel roll, and we're just gonna start by decorating it. It's really easy. So I've got a whole bunch of markers and colors here, and I'm just gonna start by decorating mine for a couple of minutes. So you guys can do kind of whatever you want. This is the one that I made earlier. It's got lots of different colors on it, and you can do any kind of designs you want. On this one, I think I'm gonna do some flowers. I think I'm gonna do some sunflowers for the nice weather, actually. So I'm gonna start by drawing some little dots in the middle for the seeds of the sunflowers. And you guys don't have to do this. You can do kind of anything you want. And then I'm gonna get my yellow marker to draw some leaves. And then just color that in a little bit. And you guys can kind of draw anything you like. So maybe you don't want flowers, you can draw cars or trucks or waves, maybe some mountains. I'm going to draw a tulip next, which is kind of like a semicircle with some lines through it. It almost looks like a cracked egg. And this is going to serve as the base for my kazoo when I'm done. You guys can kind of just keep decorating that for a couple of minutes here. And these are really awesome because they're a super easy way to kind of show how appreciative we are for everything that's going on. Even though we can't actually go in and maybe thank the people that are still out there working and keeping us safe, by showing our support at 7 p.m. by making a little bit of noise, it makes them feel really appreciated, which is awesome. So I'm going to draw one more sunflower, I think. Again, drawing some dots in the middle for mine, and then some flowers with the yellow. And then just coloring that in. And then because it's still looking a little bit bare on the front, I'm just gonna add in some vines. So for that, I'm gonna use my green pen here and draw some little squiggly vines. And that pen's actually a little bit thinner than I thought, so maybe I'll use this screen marker instead. And I kind of like flowers because it kind of reminds me of springtime. It's getting so lovely outside that if I draw some flowers on it, it kind of feels like I'm bringing a little bit of the outside sunshine inside with me. Perfect. So I've got my little flowers here. You can kind of see that. Just kind of decorated so it's nice and colorful. And so this is going to be the base for my kazoo. So now what you're going to do is you're going to grab that cup that you stuck the hole in that we're going to use for our second project, but we can use it for both. So we're going to take this cup and put it on top of our little wax paper, and we're going to make a stencil out of it. So you can put your cup on top like this, and then use a marker to draw the circle of where the base of the cup is. So you can hold the cup down and then make a big circle around it, just like that. Perfect. So now that you've got that done, grab your scissors and you can start to cut it out. Amazing. I find it's easier to cut in little tiny bits instead of trying to cut really long pieces, just because that way I can stay more precise to it. So there you go. Now you cut out your circle just like that, and that's going to create a sound barrier so that when we blow through it, all of our noise doesn't go through, and it's going to change how it sounds. So now you can pick which side you want the top to be. For me, I'm going to have this side as the top, and you put this wax paper right on top like this. Then you're going to grab that elastic that you got earlier and hold it down and wrap the elastic around to make a seal. If you have more than one elastic, that's great, but just one works too. I've got a couple here that I'm going to use to put over top just to make sure it's nice and firm. So again, we're just putting it on top of that wax paper and making a seal, just like that. So you guys can see it's just covered up like that, and I've got my kazoo here. Now, when you blow into it, it's gonna make a funny noise. So it's not gonna be, it's not about blowing really hard, and you wanna make sure you're not covering that hole, but just gently kind of making a noise into it, and it'll make it sound kind of fun. So in case you missed that, what I did was I took my piece of paper after I cut it out, and then I put it on top to make a lid, And then you're just gonna cover it up with your elastic bands. Put it over top like this with my first one to make a nice seal, and then do the same thing with your second ones. Oops. There we go. That's it. That's our first noisemaker. So this one is super easy, and you can make a whole bunch for your whole family if you want. But now that we finished this one, I'm going to move on to a little bit more of a fun one. This one's a little bit more outside of the box, but it makes a really cool sound, and it's kind of fun to play with too. So this is my second one. Do you guys know what it is? It looks a little silly, but if you said chicken, then you are totally right. So this is really cool because this noisemaker has a string that goes down through it, and when you pull on it, it ends up making a chicken noise. Do you guys know what chickens sound like? Kind of like bok, bok, bok. Kind of funny, but it's super cool, and it makes a lot of noise to show our things. So we're gonna start this one. To start with, we're gonna set up what's gonna make the noise. So again, I need you guys to grab your cup that you put the hole in earlier. And then we're gonna take our piece of yarn like this, and we're gonna try and stick it through the hole. You might need to lick the end if you're having a little bit of difficulty, but it should just feed through like this, and then you can pull it from the bottom. And when you've pulled it about halfway, we're gonna stop, and we're gonna tie one end of our string here around our paper clip. And the reason we're gonna do that is just so that it doesn't go all the way through when we pull on it later. So to tie it around my paper clip, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna weave it through like this and give myself about a finger's worth of space, but my fingers are a little longer, so you guys might wanna do 2 fingers worth. And I'm gonna wrap it around a couple of times, and then I'm gonna tie a little knot in it. So if you want to look over on my art screen, once I've wrapped it around just like that, then I'm going to tie a knot to make it tight and make sure it stays. So I've got that, and I'm going to just tie my knot. And then you can see what happens is it has my paper clip on the string. And then when you put it on top and you pull the bottom string through, it makes sure that my string isn't gonna go all the way through the hole. It just stays on top, and then it makes something that kind of looks like a little bell. So that's perfect. It's a little hard to tie the knot, so I'll give you guys a couple of seconds to try and catch up there. Perfect. So now that we've got the base of our noisemaker assembled, we get to move on to the funner part, which is the craft part. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some of our paper, and to start with, we're gonna make our feathers. So to make our feathers and to make them all even, we're gonna fold up our paper. So I've kind of drawn lines where we're gonna fold it to make it easier. So start by taking your paper, and we're gonna fold it in half across where this line is. So you can put it down and fold it in half, just like that. And then you're gonna end up with a paper like this. After you fold it in half, you're gonna fold it in half again, just like that. So we're gonna put it down and fold it in half, and now you've got one long rectangle. And we're gonna do that 2 more times. So I've got my long rectangle, and I'm gonna fold it in half, like that. And then we've got this. And so it gets kind of hard to cut if we fold it too many more times. So instead, I'm just gonna draw a line down the middle, and you guys can just take a second to draw your lines down the middle. And then once you have your lines in the middle, I'm gonna draw my first set of feathers. And so for feathers, I'm just drawing almost the shape of an eye. Do you see that? So I'm just doing that on both sides. And now I'm going to do that on 2 more pieces of paper. So we're going to start over again, and we're going to take our long piece of paper and we're going to fold it in half. And then we're going to fold it in half again. Perfect. And then one more time, we're going to fold it in half. Perfect. And now you guys have the same little paper that you did before. So we're going to do the same thing and draw some feathers on there. So just for my own reference, I like to draw a line down the middle so that I know how much to use. And then I'm going to draw 2 feathers. Perfect. That looks awesome. Now we're going to do 1 more of those. So you guys know how to fold it. But just in case, I'm going to say how I'm doing it again. So folding it in half once, folding it in half a second time, and then a third time. And this just makes it so all of our feathers are going to be symmetrical. So you can see here, I've got my paper in half, and now I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to draw my feathers. And symmetrical is just a big word for meaning that they're all going to look even or the same. Perfect. So now that you've got all of your feathers drawn, you can go ahead and start to cut those out. And the reason I folded them over like this before cutting it is so that it makes it cutting a lot faster. So take your scissors and you can cut out along the lines, just like this. And they don't have to be perfect because we're going to have lots of layers of feathers on our bird. And yours might be stuck together like mine are. That's okay. Just put a little cut through the middle and then keep cutting all the way through them. We're going to have a lot of feathers to cut. Perfect. And now I'm going to cut out my second feather from that paper. And again, I kind of find the little cuts a lot easier than trying to make big, long cuts, just in terms of making it easier to follow my lines. I'm cutting all of those out. Perfect. And we're just going to keep doing that for a little bit until we get through all of our feathers. You guys are doing a really awesome job. And I know this seems like a lot of cutting, but it's going to be super awesome when it's done. Totally worth it. So keep cutting your feathers. Perfect. And then we're going to keep just getting them apart. You're almost done. Good job. Cut, cut. Perfect. So now you can probably see you're starting to get a really big stack of feathers like me. That is perfect. Because when we get this really big stack, then we can create this fun actual feather-like effect. So it looks like a real bird. So I'm going to move on to my last stack here. Again, cutting all the way through and separating all those feathers. And last little bit here. Perfect. So now you've probably got a big stack of feathers here, which is awesome. That is exactly what you guys want, because the big stack of feathers is what gives it such a cool look. So perfect. I've got my feathers here, this giant pile of them like this. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take your cup with the string through it, and we're going to start to put our feathers on. I think it's a lot easier when you start from the bottom and then gradually work your way up. So you guys might have glue. I have tape just because I don't have any glue sticks or wet glue at home, and that's totally okay, whatever works. So you're gonna start to layer them on. I'm using tape and just put them around the bottom. And it doesn't have to cover everything. So you can kind of put them a couple centimeters apart. And we're gonna go all the way around until our whole bird's covered. Perfect, just like that. Oops. And we'll keep doing it. So put a little bit, if you're gluing, you just want to put a little bit on the top where I'm putting my tape, and then taping them on or gluing them on like that. And at first you might think, well, it looks a little bare, but don't worry, as we go up, then we're gonna have a fuller looking effect, and it'll cover whatever color your bottom is. Perfect. So this takes probably the longest out of all the steps, but it's also what makes it look just like a chicken. And maybe you guys aren't making a chicken. You can make any kind of color bird you want. Maybe you're making a chickadee or a blue jay. If you really wanted to get creative and take more time, you could be coloring in all of your feathers and make it look like a peacock, which would be super cool. So just keep going like that. We're almost done, or I'm almost done my bottom layer. And then I can show you guys how to move on to the next layer and how we're gonna make it look more covered. So now I've got my bottom layer done all the way around, and they kind of look like flower petals right now. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna try and stagger so that they're in between. So if I've got these spaces here like this, I'm gonna put my next feather up quite a bit higher, but have it covering that hole in there. And so we're gonna do that all the way around. So just putting our glue or our tape on there, and then the next one all the way around, just like that. Perfect. And we're gonna end up doing about 3 layers of feathers. You guys are doing a really awesome job. I know this seems kind of like a lot of work right now, but it's going to be totally worth it in the end, because these are super cool looking crafts. And it's a really fun one too, because as soon as you learn it, you can show it to all of your friends or your siblings or your parents as a fun thing for them to get involved in making some noisemakers later too. So just keep going all the way around, trying to get it so that they're in between, so that the lower feather looks like it's coming out of the top 2 feathers there. Awesome work. And the more feathers you add on, the more it starts to look like a real bird. So as you can see here, I'm almost getting around to the bottom of the next layer. Oops. Perfect. And then we're gonna start our top layer. And our top layer is gonna go to the very top of our cups. So you're gonna glue it or tape it, whatever you have, all the way onto the top here like this. And again, trying to layer it so that it goes all the way around and covers any holes you might have. So I'm gonna go like that. And this top layer you might want to do a little closer together just to try and cover everything up. Oops. And if you get any like mine here that are kind of sticking up funny and you don't like it, feel free to just glue them or tape them down. So that one's kind of pointing out a little funny and I don't really like it. So I'm just going to take a little bit of tape and put it behind to tape it down. You could easily do that with some glue or whatever you have. But it doesn't really matter because everything is kind of cool in nature, and things that are a little unique is what makes us all really interesting. If we were all the exact same, then it wouldn't be as fun getting to know one another. So that's kind of what's fun about all these different feathers. They don't have to line up perfectly, just whatever you like. Perfect, and I'm almost getting around to the very end of mine. Good job with yours. I know this is a long kind of process here, but it's starting to look so cool, hey? It finally really went from looking like a little cup to an actual bird in just a couple of minutes, which is awesome. So I've got maybe 3 feathers left to do. I'm gonna put those on, and then we get to move on to the next part. Perfect, so I've got my last feather. I'm gonna put it on in this little space here, and then I'm gonna move on. Perfect, so if you look all the way around, this is what mine looks like. Yours might look a little different, but that's okay. So I've gotten this far. The next thing I'm gonna do is draw its face. So first I'm gonna start by clearing off my little work surface here, so I have room. And then I'm gonna draw my face out. So I'm gonna get my last piece of paper here. And so that I have room for both the wings and the head, I'm gonna fold it in half, just so I know how much room I have. So now I've got my paper and I'm ready to start drawing. So I like to start by drawing eyes because that's kind of the center point that I know I'm gonna work off of. And because our chicken is gonna be making lots of noise, I kind of decided that I want mine to look funny. So the eyes are a little off balance. So I'm gonna start by drawing one bigger eye and then one smaller eye. And you guys can use anything you want. I'm starting by drawing mine in pencil. So if I wanna make any changes, I can go back with an eraser. So now that I've got my eyes, I'm going to draw circles inside for the pupils and then a little bit smaller circle inside of that. And that's gonna make it look like it's looking somewhere. So you can take your black marker or whatever marker color you want and trace those now. So I've got one eye, 2 eye, drawing the pupils and the little white spots inside of them. Perfect. So that's the base of mine, this little eyes here. Next, I'm going to start drawing the beak, which is kind of the main part of the face that you can see. So you do that by drawing kind of a big heart starting on the outside of the eyes. So a nice big heart like this. And then after you've drawn that one heart, you're going to do a second heart inside for its mouth. And this can be kind of any shape you want, or any size you want, I mean. So there you can kind of see the start of my chicken's mouth. What else do you guys think chickens have on their faces? I think they should probably have a nose. And so for its nose, chickens don't have noses like us that point out, but instead on their beaks, they have little holes. So I'm gonna draw some triangles for that. Just little triangles where the heart kind of comes together on top of the small one. Perfect. So that kind of starts to look like its mouth, but because it's screaming and kind of being funny, I'm going to draw a little tongue in it. So for that, I'm going to erase the side of my mouth here and make an opening. And then I'm going to draw a tongue coming out. Oops. And you guys can kind of draw your tongues however you want. I think it's kind of funny to be a little bit pointed. Perfect. So that's what mine looks like now. And then the last thing I'm going to add to this is this red part on top of the chicken's head. So I kind of draw that by drawing 3 squiggly lines. You can kind of make them however you want, but for me, I kind of make it like water coming up. So I do one line up this way, and then a second one the same way, and then a third one going the other way. But you can kind of do whatever you want there. So perfect. We've got our chicken head drawn. Now we need to color it in. So to color it in, I am going to start by coloring in the red parts. So I'm going to do the top of its head here and the tongue in the same red color. Again, your guys's don't have to look like mine. Maybe you want it to have a bright blue mohawk or a rainbow color hairdo. Whatever you want is totally cool. I'm just doing kind of a normal looking chicken. And then you want to color that all in. It's okay if you draw a little bit outside of your lines because we're going to be able to cut them out later to put it onto our chicken body. So we're going to finish coloring this all in. And then we're going to color in the beak. I'm using yellow. You could use orange or any other color you want. But when I think of chickens, I kind of think of a yellow beak. Perfect. Good job. So now the last little thing we're going to do on our chicken's head is we're going to add coloring in the nose and then coloring in the mouth, just like this. I went back with my black marker, but you guys can use any marker you want. Perfect. So that's all I have to do there. And now all I need to do is cut it out. So I'm going to go back with my scissors. And for me, it's easier if I cut out right around it like this. And then I'm just going to make little cuts around it until I get it all the way cut out. Perfect. Just finish cutting that out as best as you can, and then we're going to stick it onto our chicken bodies. And that'll be pretty much it for this noisemaker. All the way out. Perfect. And then we're going to go back and you can grab your tape or your glue or whatever you were using before to stick the feathers on. And we're going to tape it onto the body. So this is what my chicken head looks like. Kind of silly. And now I'm going to grab this, the body, with my cup, and I'm going to pick my favorite side. So for me, I really like this side. So that's where I'm going to tape mine on. And if you're taping it like me, you can grab your tape and fold it over to make a double-sided sticky square. So just like that. I fold one side over and then the other, and then both sides become sticky. And then just put it on the back. If you're just using glue, then you just have to glue the back of the head. It's way easier. And then just tape it on like that. And so now you got your chicken. That's the end of the craft. And to make it make noise, what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab your wet paper towel. Make sure you use a wet one because otherwise you might hurt your fingers. And you just pull down it like this. And it sounds just like a chicken, which is so cool. So that's it in terms of our crafts for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you use your crafts out at 7 p.m. to make some noise tonight, we would love to see it. You can tag us at UBC Camps or use the hashtag UBC PlayLearn, and we would love to see how your guys' crafts work out. If you had a lot of fun today and you want to show this craft to someone else, our videos are all going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So you'll be able to show them how to make it or make them again yourselves. And then if you're interested in coming back, we've got a whole bunch more live sessions coming up. So the next one is happening on April 20th. It's a musical theater program where you'll be able to come and play and perform as your favorite animal. So come dressed up on April 20th from 11 to 11:30. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. Okay, bye-bye.